Cam Newton aggravated his left foot sprain in the Panthers' loss to the Bucs last Thursday, and his head coach doesn't seem sure about his playing status for Week 3. Let's take a listen.
As far as timeout, do you know how long?
I have no idea. What he's going to do is he's going to get his treatment, and we'll see how he feels, and we'll adjust it as we go through it.
All right, Marcus Spears back with us because I asked him to come back. Thank you. All right, so Max, I'll start with you. You know, should the Panthers start looking for Cam's successor?
Yes, absolutely they should. Look, I think in sports, patience. Just when you ran out of patience, more patience, especially with a talent like Cam. And I know there'll be a tendency now to think, oh, it's not one thing, it's another. Andrew Luck just retired. Cam came in the year before, and how much? But I think Cam can come back from this if people are patient, and who's to say he can't be productive going forward? But even with that point of view, which I have, you have to acknowledge there's a good chance that he may just, with all the hits he's taken over the years, never be the same, or these kind of injuries will continue to mount, even when he gets healthy. At any rate, what is clear is you need a succession plan. You need a guy to take over. Look, it's one thing to have a backup quarterback, like I think the Saints do. I'm not as like Chicken Little about the Saints as a lot of other people are, because I think Teddy Bridgewater is a solid quarterback. He can go 500 in Drew Brees' absence. But there's a difference between that, a stopgap quarterback who can hold it down, and a successor. And the thing about Cam is, since he can, he may have years ahead of him, the Panthers can take chances in the draft, don't have to spend a first-round pick, on quarterbacks they think have a chance with high upside and start looking to develop someone. Look at what just happened to the Colts with Andrew Luck. They had made the trade for Brissett, and right now they're sitting at 1-1. Close loss to a good team in the Chargers, whatever, at least on paper. Week 1, good win against the Titans, who look pretty good this year so far. Week 2, they're still in it because they had a succession plan in place in the event that Andrew Luck, who's a lot like Cam in a lot of ways, and then Luck retired. And look, they have a guy now, maybe. The Panthers would be well served to do the same thing.
I don't want to hear that from you. Not from you. The season just started 2 weeks ago, and prior to that, you were raving about how Cam Newton was going to be an MVP candidate. You got to be kidding me. This is you. It's you, Max. It wasn't Marcus, wasn't Damian, wasn't Ryan Clark, wasn't Roz, wasn't Molly, wasn't me. It was you. You were the one that's saying that. And 2 weeks later, here you go with this. Oh, stop it. Here's the reality of the situation. I have repeatedly said that Cam Newton's shoulder, his accuracy was always a problem with me even before the shoulder injury. And even I'm not sitting there and saying, you know what, throw him out with the bathwater, get your succession plan going. You know why? Because it's a foot sprain. Can't help that. You got to remember something. He had arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder. He barely practiced with the team. He didn't practice till July. And he was only throwing short intermediate passes to stationary targets. There was no chemistry developed with the receivers. Then he had days off. Then he had a foot sprain. That caused him to miss like an additional 10 practices, for crying out loud. He tried to play through it. Now, if he had a shoulder injury and his arm is clearly compromised and there's no upside and stuff like that, I get all of that. But the last time we saw this brother healthy with Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, he had the greatest completion percentage of his career at over 67%. Over the last 4, as awful as he may have been, these 2 games, and the last 2 games he played in the last regular season, where he hasn't scored a touchdown, rushing or passing, and this is a guy that never goes back-to-back games without scoring, rushing, or passing the football. It's 4 games, and if it's 4 games, and the shoulder is getting healthy, and Norv Turner is still there, excuse me, I'm of the mindset, let the brother sit, let him get some rest. He'll be all right.
I'm sorry, Marcus, just real quick. I know when healthy, Cam, I think, is even on an upwards trajectory. But think of the punishment he's taken over his career. Yeah. Look at what just happened to Andrew Luck.
You knew that 3 weeks ago.
So what this latest injury says, it's like read the writing on the wall. You better have a young guy ready
We watching it happen.
Marcus Spears could have stepped on his damn foot, Max. This is a foot sprain.
I got you. I understand, Stephen A. Again, I don't know what happened to me and Max Kellerman, but we are loving each other today. You have to have a succession plan, Stephen A. It's not about whether Cam gets thrown out to the Wolves. It's not whether you don't think he's the guy going forward. But the probability of him getting injured and you losing your season because you don't have a guy that can come in behind him is a real thing with the Carolina Panthers. I want Cam to have as much success as possible, personally, because the way Cam has played has always been something people tried to put out in the back and say you can't win that way. So I'm not, this is not me speaking of the fact that Cam, but gotta be honest, Cam hadn't played well.
Marcus.
Cam hadn't played well, Stephen A. We talk about the completion percentage. It was 5-yard chase downs to Christian McCaffrey. Like that is like I'm gonna be real with every quarterback. When Eli Manning sucked, he sucked, and they needed to move on. That's why I'm glad Daniel Jones is getting this shot. Cam doesn't suck quite yet, but Cam is injury prone. Number one, and I don't for you to miss games, you're injury prone. And number two,
hold on, Max.
And number two,
Marcus,
everybody talks about the completion percentage. Go ahead.
I got it. But for the purposes of this discussion, here's where, let me teach you something about First Take, because this is what I need you to know. If I asked you before the season, you would have said the same thing that you're saying now. I have no problem with your issue. I'm saying Max changed from 3 weeks ago.
Wrong.
The man had a 3 weeks ago. Max was talking different. You didn't call him an MVP candidate.
That's
you
not what I'm saying.
You didn't sit up there and say that Cam Newton was going to be an MVP candidate. You didn't say that.
Listen carefully, okay?
He did.
I'm going to bring out sock puppets to make my point, to make this clear for you. Cam can still win an MVP going forward, but given the number of shots he's taken over his career, given the fact that one day it's the shoulder, the next day it's the foot, you got to read the writing on the wall and have a backup plan.
You didn't know that 3 weeks ago? That's my point.
We're
you
not
knew this
saying
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, you said he was an MVP candidate.
Right. We're not, but you can't have a succession plan for an MVP candidate? By the way, the Patriots did. The Patriots did. They had to go. Tom Brady had to go to the owner to get the succession plan out of town. The Patriots had a succession plan.
That's fair. That's your best argument. Porn star Jimmy was a succession plan. That is true.
Is he a success?
Come on,
Stephen A. Is he a success? He's winning.
Stephen A. Come on, you know damn well the Carolina Panthers need a succession plan, whether you said Cam was an MVP candidate or not. Come on now, we've seen the way Cam plays. We've seen Cam miss games. We've had this conversation for years. This is not just this season. I understand where you could think what Max was saying at the beginning of the season. That does not change this point. This point is raised because Cam possibly misses another game due to injury. So this is the conversation we're having. So based on that history, regardless of if Cam is just in his 9th season, Cam may have 10 seasons left. We don't know. But a succession plan is smart, Stephen A. It is just smart for the Carolina Panthers to think that, hey, maybe we should get
a succession plan is a success. Hold it, wait a minute. Based on that premise, a succession plan is smart for anybody. Nobody with any sense would argue that a succession plan is needed with everybody.
It's more of a risk.
Let's not act like Cam, because of a foot sprain, is a special circumstance.
No, I want to make a distinction. Not always, Stephen A. If you have a young quarterback, it also says where they are in their career. If you have a young quarterback in his first 5 years, hasn't taken a lot of punishment, you want a veteran backup quarterback who can come in and steady the ship if something happens. What we're saying about Cam is he's now been in the league long enough and taken enough shots and is at the age where it's smart to think about the future. Not that he can't also have a future, but it's not the same thing as a younger quarterback who's fresher. I love how you think you explaining stuff to an audience, and you the only one that gets it, and we don't understand what the hell you're saying. I agree with where Marcus is coming from, because his position is consistent. You're the one that changed in 2 weeks. That's my point.
We've definitely got to go to break. I mean, in his defense, I don't think it's possible to say that Cam still has potential as a player, but it also is smart to have a backup plan. I'm kind of with Marcus and Max on this one, Stephen A.